I got nothing. Episode 9 is Mr. Nick Racioppi. Racioppi? I gotta get some guests with some easier names. First met Nick doing comedy. He was new to comedy when I met him. He wasn't bad, but there was something about him that made me pay attention to him. Unlike a lot of other new comics, it's like a revolving door, you know? Kind of like meetings, rehab, sober friends. That's horrible. I was paying attention to him because he was confident. He had stage presence. But the nicest thing about him is he was kind and empathetic to people. He had this old school chivalrous gentleman kind of a hey attitude. About 2 months after that, he got sober. He's going to talk about all this. Nick's done this differently out of anybody that I've had on the show. He's never been to a meeting, never went to rehab, never done any steps. Nick's kind of a different beast, and he's doing this his own way, which I can respect. We can all respect because we don't judge, right? Right? He's doing this through discipline, which to me is like, not only is Nick a husband, a father, a comic, he's in the United States Marine Corps. The amount of discipline that this kid shows, which he'll talk about, I learned a lot from, and I hope you do too. Coincidentally, Nick and his family are packing up and moving tomorrow, which you will see this a week later. But Nick, respect the hell out of you. You're a good guy. You've done a lot for yourself. Keep trucking. Take care. Take care of those wives and kids and wives. That's what I got nothing. Everybody enjoy episode 9 with Nick.
Mr. Poopy Butthole.
They just tell you quick. Like they're like, "Hey, you're restationed," and then you go.
It's not as abrupt, although in some people's scenarios it can be. If you're single, it's usually a little bit more of a pop up. Like, hey, by the way, you're gonna have orders. Like,
whoa,
come in. And because you're single, you could have a girlfriend and stuff like that. But if they're not married to you, and like as a dependent on your profile, they'll send you pretty quick. But for families, they usually try and give at least 2 to 3 months.
That's nice of them.
In advance.
That's better than yeah.
Like, hey, next month we're gonna need you in Hawaii.
How many military or how many people in the military when they're like, man, I think I'm about to get restationed, they're like, yo, let's get married like now.
Yeah. That would kind of be a dumb thought process because they're still going to send you. Yeah, right. Especially if you don't have any kids or anything.
And then now you just have to take this person.
Now you're just lugging that person with you.
That's a nightmare. I would be a dumb soldier. Like, that would be my first thought. Like
before everything started going all woke, and I shouldn't say woke. Like, I think gay people should be in the military and married. Like, that's like marry who you want. I don't give a fuck. But before then, when it was like the don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
Guys would just marry their friends just to get the extra like paycheck, which was obviously highly frowned upon because it's like, yeah, we know you guys are married, but like, how married? Like,
right. Like, how
do you say prove it? You know?
Every now and then.
Yeah, they're like, dude, you guys got to kiss. Like, kiss right now.
Kiss right now. Your tongue, tangle, go.
Touch.
When was your sober date? When was the last time that you drank?
December 9th, 2021.
Damn.
Yeah, dude. It was
Good job.
after a fucking, I guess it's almost an achievement for most alcoholics, but I got a DWI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't. I guess achievement's just bringing a levity to it, but yeah, like I come from a deep household of alcoholism.
Yeah,
and yeah, it was a one and done. It wasn't the first time I had like driven drunk, but it was the first time I got caught.
Right. Oh yeah. And my DUI, I wasn't even really drunk. It was just a high school kid that I used to pick on who was now a cop and was like, I'm going to fucking get him.
Yeah, I'm going to burn you.
Yeah, and he did.
It's the worst.
And it was like 2 days after the difference between DUI and DWI. Just all became DWI.
Yeah.
So I was kind of screwed on it. But I drove blackout drunk constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have to like go to rehab or anything? Or
No, so I guess it more dawned on me like, oh, there's a high probability that I like didn't go home to my wife and kids that night.
Yeah.
And so that was enough, I think, of the universe telling me like, if you keep doing this, you're going to wreck your car again, but you're not going to come home from it. And so that was a lot easier of a switch, I think, for me to flip and just quit it cold turkey. So the day, like, I have not had alcohol in my system since the 10th, the day after. But yeah, that was enough for me.
Well, you're a strong-willed person. Like I gotta let you know, man. Like we're not like best friends. We've really hung out like maybe 7-8 times. I mean, I have a lot of respect for you. I think there's a mutual respect there.
Yeah.
But like I'm so damn impressed and proud of you.
Oh,
not just from like the sober thing, and like I'm impressed with that, knowing you didn't have to go to rehab, that you were just like, holy shit, I could have taken out people, taken myself out, and that be a wake-up call. But like just what you've done, like I remember the first time I met you, I think it was at the new club. You weren't around during the basement, right?
Yeah, I missed the basement days.
You missed the glory days.
Yeah, that's what everybody tells me.
That
so
place
like
was the church, man.
that was literally like missing the like in-flight brief before the fucking plane from 9/11.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a dark way of putting it, but you're right. You're right.
It's like you're kind of missing out on something.
But I remember meeting you, and then like I can't remember if I was just doing sound or hosting or like I don't remember. I think I was doing sound because I think I messed up your last name bad.
Everybody did, and still does. Like, it's
the
Steve
other
Melia.
kid.
If you put his whole life savings on it, it's like just say his name right, correct, one time.
Yeah,
he's still Racioppi.
How do you say it?
Racioppi.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You had it.
I was just impressed with you. You carry yourself with a nice, like a chivalrous, gentleman-like, respectful clown.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you carry yourself like you're a good man, I can tell. And you have like a sense of humor that isn't settled anywhere. Like you can find it anywhere in the spectrum and appreciate the joke for what it is. Like you're not offended, like you get it. You've seen some shit.
Yeah.
And you know, you're not I've always been impressed by you and what you've done, especially in like nobody's. I think one time Bishop went and did some stuff in Jacksonville, but you've kind of like taken that scene. I've been wanting to come to Hooligans. I have such a history with that, not that building, but like I used to be a DJ at Rock 105 back in the day. And then the original Hooligans that used to be Planet Rock.
Yeah.
I played in a band that we used to pack that place out. I had my own radio show. Then I booked Planet Rock on Thursday nights for local nights. So it was like the trifecta.
Yeah.
Like, man, I was making so much money then, but just, you know, buying all the things you shouldn't buy. when you have a bunch of money and you're 24 years
Dude.
old.
Too many Hulk hands. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know why I have these, you know? No, but first of all, I didn't know we were rolling. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah,
the invite
yeah.
was awesome. I immediately I was like, fuck yeah, we're doing this.
I appreciate it, man.
So no, I appreciate the invite to it, but yeah, I don't know. I feel kind of weird about it because I am just a silly goose at heart. So like, I do like the dark humor.
Yeah.
I can get some of the like one-liners, or like premises that people are going towards, I guess. So I would say I'm a comedy fan, and I'm still trying to figure out my voice. So like, I think that's why I'm always changing styles, or why I don't really have one pinpointed
You got
yet.
3 years in comedy now?
It'll be 3, in September.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've done pretty good, man. Good for yourself.
Yeah,
That's
thank
good.
you.
I didn't find my voice till like year 5.
I can feel it coming on now.
Yeah.
Pause. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think I'm also growing faster than my writing, or like the way you're able to kind of catch a premise is. So I think that's why it's changing a lot, is that I'm looking at other comics and kind of how they deliver stuff. Because right now I think it's the delivery. I know how to write jokes. I know how to kind of punch things up now. So I feel like I have the smorgasbord of tools to write comedy.
Yeah.
Now it's just which mode do I want to deliver in? Because there are nights where I'm low energy and I get big pops, but then there's nights where I'm low energy and then the crowd is just reciprocating the low energy and I can't get those pops, right?
Oh, that's any night. Like you could go with high or low energy. If the crowd's not there, they're not there.
Yeah.
And I used to get told by veteran comics back, like I started in 2012. It was like late 2012. Mid to late 2012. I don't remember. I was drunk. I lied to get on my first show. I said I could do 15 minutes. I had never done comedy before in my life. They put me on. I made it through the 15 minutes, but boy, oh boy.
Was it hard?
Oh, it was so hard. Like I wrote a story and I was like, yeah, this isn't, a buddy of mine that did comedy was like, man, you're going to bomb and I'm going to be there for it, but I'll pick you up after.
Yeah.
You got to do at least an 18-minute story because you're going to go so fast. I'm like, no, man, I'm a pro. Like, this isn't my first rodeo of being on stage.
Yeah.
Just first time doing. I finished that story in fucking 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and it was rough. I still have it on video somewhere, and I have to watch it every now and then to like humble
yourself, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do that with I'm doing Waterline tonight.
I love that room.
And that was the first book gig I ever had. Thank you to Lou Morgante.
He's so wonderful.
He's the best. And
love that man.
Was always so fucking encouraging. And I think that's with him being my introduction into the world of comedy.
Yeah.
And him giving me that opportunity, it was so much easier to do that, like what you mentioned in Jacksonville. So there's been a couple of comics who have now like kind of entered the Wilmington comedy scene, and they're running the mics, they're doing the mics, they're constantly writing, but they came from Hooligans, and I just brought that energy that Lou gave me and just reciprocated it to Jacksonville, and I think that's why we have more of a scene developing in Jacksonville, and now there's a lot more people traveling to the Wilmington shows. There's a lot more clubs opening up. Well, I shouldn't say a lot more, but you have Hooligans, you have Playhouse. I think Limelight's now doing it, but Ducks was always there.
Yeah,
like you could book through the Comedy Zone.
Mm-hmm. Lewis Bishop used to be their primary host all the time.
Yep, and Lewis was the host of the open mic the first night I went.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I call them Lou comics. I really do, because there's you, there's Ellie, there's I can't even remember who the other. I can't remember his name. He's been in about 5 years, but I don't go around much, so I don't remember his name. But you can always tell because Lou has a great way of instilling a good foundation of what is right and what is wrong, what to do, what not to do.
Yes,
like immediately. Yep. And then once you have that foundation, it's really only up from there, because that's where most people fall, is just being complete assholes.
Yeah, I think a lot of that too is like trying to fight the venue, and like looking at comedy as, well, this is going to be the number one prospect. It's like, it's not. If you look at it realistically, yeah, we might get some more patrons in, but if we keep at it and this starts to become a regular event, I think that's where it's in the normalcy and the just being consistent with the shows, good or bad, right? Like sometimes it sucks when you are like we had at Hooligans a couple of times. It felt like the open mic almost sold out. Like there was like what felt like a rock show amount of people there, and for some of the comics, that's a great way to find out if you really want to do this. Because if you're bombing in front of a bunch of people, you can be like, all right, I have two thought processes. I can either write and get better, or maybe this isn't for me, right? And then also performing in front of those crowds, it's you and 4 other people. Yeah. You know, and being able to pull those in.
Wilmington people are spoiled when it comes to open mics. Like where I started in Virginia Beach, like we had the Funny Bone that if you were lucky to get in there, I was so lucky to get in there. Then I became their sound and lights guy, which was awesome because I got to watch amazing comics every single night. Get to meet them, talk to them, just walk in and out of the dressing room the green rooms I needed to, you know, like I never bothered them, but like there was some comics that'd be like, hey, come hang out in the green room with me later. I don't want to be in there by myself. I'm like, yeah, cool. Let me set up. No problem. But I went from a scene that where you had an open mic that was like no people, 1 person, 3 people, every now and then 10 or 12. And then as soon as I moved back to Wilmington, it was like the week that Dead Crow was grand opening after Nut Street. And it was like packed every Thursday. Very rarely was there less than 60 people there. Very rarely did it not go to capacity.
Yep.
And even like I remember on Thanksgiving having open mics. Like the management and Timmy and Cole would just open it up.
Yep.
And there may be 2 people, there may be 100, but all the comics from town would just leave their families and come hang out, drink together. It was like the best camaraderie, the best time.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Pandemic kind of changed everything.
Yeah, I was post-pandemic.
Yeah.
So I had just gotten back from a deployment. I was doing I started my podcast as a way to get bits out. So started that. I wanted to like document it, and I was deep into the comedy like podcast realm anyway. Like I was watching all of the popular ones, and I was like, it can't be that hard. So started, right?
Yeah.
Boy, is it.
Yeah.
Because I was running them 1 a week at that time too. So it was just a writing machine. Like what bits or like what premises can I work out this week on the podcast? So week after week, just kept doing that, and I think that helped me flex a little bit of the writing and the grind of comedy. And then I remember calling, asking when Dead Crow was going to be open, and then finally, September 16th of 21 was like their first open mic back at the new spot.
You're good. I remember.
And and I remember that only because that's my first day in comedy. I remember not doing too bad.
Yeah.
Right. And like getting some of the now people I would meet as veteran comics were like, come back.
Yeah.
Like keep writing.
Yeah.
And that's like all I needed. Because I went there alone. Like I'm seeing people now, like they show up, they show up with friends, maybe like people to help encourage them on their first night.
Oh yeah. Cold turkey.
Solo dolo.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man.
Dude, had a knot in my stomach, wanted to throw up, like, because that was I was the funny guy of the group, right? As everybody says, right? No one.
And you had stopped drinking by then, right?
No, so I was still, 2 months away from that.
Okay.
So that was September, and then December was my last.
Did you feel between September and December that it was better for you to drink, either to relax, or you were going to be better on alcohol?
It was a crutch.
Yeah.
What I would later work out in therapy, alcohol was always just a crutch. But I would take a shot and a beer before the set to help ease the nerves. And then when I stopped drinking, it was like a fucking hole in my personality. And that's what I feel like, that's what made fun Nicky.
Yeah.
that's where all of my stories and all my silliness came from. But really, I was using it as a crutch, and then so now I thankfully, like early on in my comedy career, had to figure out how to deal with those nerves on my own.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
Without the alcohol.
And you did it like with no like treatment, or you went to start? Did you start going to therapy immediately?
So I started going to therapy because my wife suggested it, and she had been going for a little bit.
Yeah,
and like it was hard to find because I was very skeptical. Like, what are they gonna do? Tell me that there's stuff wrong with me? I know that.
right.
I know there's shit wrong with me.
I know.
I know I'm not the best. And so, yeah, just starting therapy was kind of on its own. But then I was like, oh, this actually might be a good vessel. Hey, therapist lady, I'm going to cry in front of you for the next couple of weeks. And let's get through some of this alcoholism. And of course, it stems from my mom, my dad, and their absence, really. But yeah, it took me a while, and I still get really nervous, especially before like longer sets.
Yeah.
Just trying to remember everything, because everything, like especially in the military, you want to execute correctly, and that's just not what comedy is. It's there's a pocket you need to be in between silliness and executing, right? And I think that's a fine line to walk. And really, what I think alcohol was it would just put everything over into the be silly.
Yeah.
And then it would
just make that line just come into one big blurry. Yeah.
I wasn't worried about writing. I was worried about my performance and like what people, like all the wrong shit.
Yeah.
I hope they like me.
Uh-huh.
Fuck you.
You know, the day when you realize that you have like, oh my God, I found my voice. It's going to be when you go do a long set. You're not really going to think about it that day. In fact, you'll probably forget about it a couple times.
Yeah.
You won't normally sit down and write out your set. You won't write out a set list. You'll do it about 5 minutes before you go up. You'll walk up with no nerves whatsoever and just fucking chill.
I'm going to take these Zins out because I am fucking zooting right now.
Is that the caffeine thing or the nicotine?
Nicotine.
Yeah.
I'm getting, so I had some on the, sorry, I'm returning to that point. I had some on the way here. Uh-huh. But I popped 2 of the Sixers in at a time. And so like I'm getting severe nicotine poisoning right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what? What are we talking about?
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do this, man.
Yeah.
We're going to fucking Michael.
Take this?
Do it.
All right,
do it. I got plenty. You're going to damn Michael J. Fox all over the table.
Dude, I'm gonna be like,
That's horrible. Oh, that was great. No, man. So does your wife drink?
Not really, no. And she wasn't a big drinker even before my sobriety. And I think it was a little bit easier. I still have the thoughts of alcohol, just like you see it, dude. Sometimes those fucking beer ads, you're like, bitch, I would love to crush a Corona right now. But the like brake pedal doesn't exist. Yeah. Whatever that is that other people have doesn't exist. So I think it was a little bit easier for me to go, it's no alcohol whatsoever. Was a lot easier for me to say no and kind of not need recovery for. Although I probably should have, but I think I was just piecemealing what therapy does anyway. So like I was then just getting back into fitness, worrying about my body. I had therapy to help my mental and emotional like crutches during that time. So I was just kind of piecemealing what rehab and recovery does without having to go there, if that makes sense.
You know what's funny? This may or may not blow your mind, but it sounds like you're in recovery. You found your coping skill was to work out, to take up time. I'm sure you started focusing more on the kids and the family, started going to therapy to talk about your feelings, to work out what was doing, and then you still fight the urge and succeed at the moment and whatever day it has so far in doing it. That's what this show's about.
Yeah,
it's about this, man. It's about everybody does it different. Yeah. You know, we both know people who were heroin addicts for years and years and years, but yet they haven't done heroin in 5 years, 6 years, and they'll still have a beer every now and then. They'll still smoke a blunt every now and then. some people would say they're not sober or not clean. You know what? I say fuck that, because they're not doing the thing that made their life go down the drain.
Yeah.
Everybody does things different. I don't go to meetings. I go once a year to pick up a chip just to show people it can be done, because I did go to rehab and that's kind of my foundation of it. But like, I don't, I have a lot of friends from it, but I don't like go.
You don't subscribe to the idea that like
it's the only
rehab
way.
has to, you have to go.
No, I mean, I went because I had to.
Yeah.
Like I had to. My friends made me go.
Yeah. And I think part of that too is mostly just removing yourself from the common like day-to-day stuff. Cause I think it's mostly habitual.
Per people, places, things.
Yep.
That's what I did. The only thing I didn't remove was the comedy club.
Yeah.
I even removed about 80% of the people that were there.
Yeah.
But I would still have to see them on Thursdays and on weekends. And I found that those people that I hated when I was drinking, I had a deep down reason for not liking them, whether it was envy or whether it was just pure, I didn't like their style of comedy, or I didn't like them as people.
Yeah.
Or
the wrong stuff.
Yeah, or they were people that enabled me to like do blow at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I started to realize that when I got sober, I'm like, half of them really aren't that bad. They're just in this lifestyle. So it's kind of like, a couple of them stopped going, like veterans stopped going and kind of stopped comedy altogether to get clean. I still talk to them.
Yeah.
I just saw a couple of them the other day. But I think it kind of sounds like to me, dude, you're doing the recovery thing, because if you're an alcoholic, it never goes away.
Yep.
There's actually an episode of this show coming out this Thursday where I talked to my IOP counselor. Fucking amazing episode. It was mind blown. Everything the guy said, he's brilliant. And he was talking about how, he's got 33 years and he still has the addiction and obsession over the, not drugs and alcohol really, but any inanimate object, like he'll see a bucket. Oh, that bucket's only $5. I need one of those buckets. Look, there's 5 colors of those buckets. Why do I need those buckets? I need those buckets. And you think about those buckets nonstop. Like it's the same kind of thing, but it never goes away.
Yep.
Like I'm over 7 years and I don't, every now and then, like if I go out and cut the grass and it looks fucking beautiful, I'm from the South, bro. I want to sit in the
Watch yourself, fucking alcohol.
Yeah.
We're coming for you, bitch.
Yeah. You're the problem.
Yeah.
You're the problem.
Not me.
Not me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, to me, the non-alcoholic ones, like, so for me, it was never like, oh, I like whiskey because it tastes like whiskey.
Yeah,
or
no.
it was never the
fucked
taste.
up quick.
Yeah. For me, and
it was a different type of buzz that was different from the one you had the night before from the beer and the one night before from the vodka. Yeah.
Nothing was better than like binging for like a weekend, or really like a Thursday, Friday, or like a Friday night, and then you wake up on the Saturday. It's like 1 o'clock. Crack the first beer, and you just ride the lightning from the previous day.
Oh God,
it was the best.
That was every fucking day for me. Like every fucking day. My favorite, and it was funny, is the only time I never really went crazy on alcohol is when like me and my buddy would get a bottle of Glenlivet.
Yeah.
And then get the big ball ice cubes, pour 2 fingers, let it sit there for 30 minutes, and then we would just sip on that.
Yep.
And after that, I was like, oh man, that's nice. I'm ready to go to bed.
Yep.
I feel so relaxed.
Quite the opposite for me.
Yeah.
I would get blitzed. Like,
I eventually would once we're like, okay, we can't just slam this. But
dude,
yeah, man, I couldn't stop.
There were nights where I like, and I think when I noticed the change, like the change needed to happen, I was drinking by myself. Nobody would come over, like, yo, come through. It's a fucking Tuesday, dude. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Come over.
Who comes through on a Tuesday?
Yeah. So
people like us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would be like before I'm going on a deployment or something like that. Like friends would come over. Usually you have like a going away because you're going to be on deployment and stuff like that. So as soon, like when I started seeing like the brunt of my friends would either get out or move, like because they would get orders somewhere else.
Yeah.
Slowly, like my friends would start like dwindling away, not necessarily because of my alcoholism, but just life circumstances. Then there were nights where I was just like, all right, well, fuck it. If no one's going to come through, I'm going to crush this 20 rack of Budweiser to myself. That reset pedal is fucking insane. And I think that's what also, it's that fear in the back of my head that is like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Do you ever have, like, if you're out on, like, deployment or... I mean, I don't know how, like, I'm not in the military.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it really is. I just know what movie directors show me. Like, I just know that there was a guy one time that went overseas carrying beers for his buddies. Saw that movie. That was pretty dope.
Saving Private Ryan every day. Yeah. That opening scene. That's what it is. 100% of the time. Them damn Nazis. No, it's...
I mean, I'm sure if you, like, go, if you're, like... I mean, if you're a deployment where you actually have a job to do every single day, like, or if you're like a friend of mine who was in the Marines, went over on a boat. Yep. I think it was the Kearsarge.
No shit.
On, yeah.
That was the boat. That was literally my last deployment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this the.
Yeah, he gave me a Zippo lighter with the Kearsarge on it.
Fuck yeah!
I can't remember. I believe I remember that name.
Yeah.
But he retired like a long time ago from Marine Corps, and now he's a assistant principal.
We are still using that ship, and it is dog shit. Worst Airbnb ever.
Well, he was showing me, like, he told me, like, I remember I went out of town one time when I was in high school, and he called my dad collect from Spain. He was like, yeah, we've been watching bullfights for the past 3 days. I'm like, so is that a deployment, or is it all more you see in the movie to where you're just covered in sand 24 hours a day? I'm sure there's different types.
Yeah, there's different types. So the one you're kind of referencing is like a combat deployment. Believe it or not, I know all this stuff with like Afghanistan and the pullout, all that kicking off back in 2020. That was registered as kind of a combat deployment only because of the area you were in.
Right.
But we've pretty much been in like peacetime since 2014, 2015-ish.
Yeah.
So a lot of the deployments are literally just, I guess, upkeep is what I would say is we still have a footprint in like Okinawa, Japan.
Yeah. I have a cousin that lives over there on the base.
Yeah. And more like peacetime deployments. So they're really, like when you go on a MEU, which is what the Kearsarge is part of, the Marine Expeditionary Unit is essentially the foot soldiers for the Navy. So you'll get ready for the MEU. You'll set out, and then you're essentially just doing what we call a booze cruise.
Gotcha.
If it's in peacetime, right? So you're gonna re-up on supplies at specific ports. So they give you what's called Liberty, which is essentially free time to go explore or go like take advantage of some of the like tours and stuff like that. So if you're going up through like the Med, you might stop in Italy and go visit Rome or Sigonella. So it's cool because you get to travel, which is why you can tell a lot of the people in the Navy signed up for the travel. But for the most part, like Marines would give anything to go back to the combat deployments. But for the most part, you're traveling countries. So like in a very long-winded answer, on a like peacetime deployment, you can visit anywhere from like 6 or 7 countries. So you can, if you're an alcoholic, get fucked up in France. You can get fucked up in Italy. You can get fucked up in
well, how do you deal
Germany.
with that when you're overseas and it's I'm sure all your buddies are just getting
a lot
plowed.
of masturbation and movies.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
A lot of self-care.
Self-time.
Yeah. No, it's being what
Racioppi going out tonight? I don't know. He's good.
I'll be cranking something. There is no private space too, but
right.
Yeah, no. Luckily, I had a lot of. I would essentially, I guess, classify it as like bar time prior to the deployment.
Mm-hmm.
So I had already been sober by the time I deployed it was like 5 months. So like being able to say no was getting just like incrementally easier each time I was at a bar, especially doing shows, open mic, stuff like that. So for me to just order, like the weirdest thing was like not having a drink. So I just getting a water or a fucking seltzer water.
So I did
helped.
Club and lime.
Because the last thing you want to do is that, like, you don't want to be the weirdo at the bar with no drink.
Just standing on the corner.
Just like
cowboying it up.
Yeah, and I don't smoke or anything like that either. So, so getting used to just saying no became a lot easier, and because of that, I had gotten in trouble in the military and stuff too because of the DWI. So I was already on my boss's shit list,
right,
showing up to the deployment, right? So I'm already in trouble. They were keeping a close eye on me because when you're out, like, yeah, you kind of have the freedom to just hang out, you know, in the city. Usually there's a city outside of the port, so like a lot of people go drink at the local bars there, or like get an Uber to maybe whatever the like town event is, or whatever the tourist attraction is. So I was getting watched very closely on if I was acting weird or if I was drunk, stuff like that. So it was just way easier to save myself and my career to just like let it be. And that's kind of the scope in which I kept looking at it. Was like, if I have a drink and I get caught, I'm done. Like, this is it's not just a oopsie, I made a mistake, I had a little sip.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a wild person when I drink.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm not mean. I wasn't mean.
I will get mean if someone, especially if I'm provoked.
Injustice or somebody disrespecting would be my two triggers.
Yeah.
Like if I saw a dude like being mean to a woman, I would hit first,
and
ask questions later. Oh yeah. You get one of them gulags.
You know, no. The Frenchmen are very nice to their ladies.
Right. Okay.
So, but it would be that, but like also scuffles.
Mm-hmm.
The Navy doesn't play well with us either sometimes.
Right.
Especially being on a ship for so long, like everybody's already close quarters. You might be running low on food because they decided to splurge one night. And so as, you know, food rations start going away, or you're just making like little incremental cuts throughout the float, there can be a lot of animosity between the Marines and the Navy staff aboard the ship. So like that all comes out
right
when you're out in town.
Kiss a little sand and all the bravery comes back. Now they know all the cameras aren't around.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it was just easier for me to just be silly. Like, and that's the thing I thought I would be missing with alcohol, is that like, oh well, now I can't be silly anymore.
It's even better now.
Dude, I'm me with my kids, I'm very rarely serious. Which I think makes for effective parenting from the at least the dads.
It's the dad side. I just got told 10 minutes ago. I was like, can you just be serious?
Yeah. Never. Never. We're supposed to be the silly good. Like, I feel like I never grew up with a dad, or at least my biological father. So I had to get it all from my uncles and shit like that. So they would all bust my balls growing up.
Yeah.
Not like that, but, you know, in the jokey way.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
They just taking turns at the pendulums.
Yeah. So I want to be able to give my kids the sense of humor that I have. My wife hates it, but you know, I was like, dude, you know what you married, so like, it's not like I've changed that much. Yeah, 2 kids.
That's awesome, man.
9 and 8.
That's a fun age. I met my 2 stepsons when they were 8 and 10.
Yeah,
we got along amazing.
Yeah,
we're getting along great
dude,
now.
Crush, yeah.
But it's like the 15-year-old and I are like, we're getting better. But it's still, he's 15, so he doesn't like any parental unit.
You can't take it personal. It's
I just kind of gotta. I have a feeling that's where that money came with. My daughter found. I have a feeling. I'm just trying to get her to tell me. She's like, she's just like me, dude. Like, she's just like fucking me. So when you have Like, do you ever come down to like open mics and you got to get all the way back? You live in Jayville, right?
Yeah.
So you got to like when you come down to Dead Crow, you got to get back because you're 5 o'clock in the morning or.
Yeah. I don't know. A little bit earlier in my my comedy career, it was like that. But for the most part, like Fridays, if we don't really have anything too crazy going on, I can be like, hey, I'm just gonna be in a little bit later the next morning. But I try not to be like that's not a thing I want to always do.
Yeah. Every now and then, if it's something special.
Sure. That was the weird part for me, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Is like how to hang with the touring comics because you don't want to, especially like so. I've hosted for a couple of the comics that have came through Dead Crow.
Yeah.
And I knew of them, and so like it's that weird line where I didn't want to fanboy out too hard, but also like I wanted to seem cool. Like, guys, I'm not that bad of a time, And alcohol always helped ease that line of like, because I also really don't have a filter on me for the most part. So like if I think it, I'm saying it. Very rarely will I be like, I don't know if I should say that. I'll be like, here comes a black joke.
Yeah.
And sometimes that doesn't work if you're hosting for,
right.
Yeah.
I got a amazing piece of advice from Brett Ernst. He used to be like a big deal. He was with Matt Fulkerian.
Okay.
They used to tour together, and I used to go out and do shows with them, especially when they came up like Virginia and all that stuff. And then he had me out at Dead Crow with the basement one time. But they both told me one night there, I was just like, man, did you see that? I was like, that was a pretty good set tonight. He goes, well, we didn't fucking watch. Like, Brad goes, if you think that you're going to get a big break from opening for somebody, get that out of your system. No headliner is going to come out and watch you unless you're feature and you're going over the light.
Yep.
He was like, other than that, he was like, they'll be down there and they're in their head. He was like, that's great. They will hear the laughter. They'll be like, all right, he's doing pretty good. But they're not going to know a word you say.
Yep.
After they told me that, I was like, oh, yeah.
That does make sense.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Like,
especially,
why am I even caring?
Yep.
Yeah,
you realize that the big breaks aren't going to come from those weekend spots. And I think networking, sure. Like I'm not that that good of a networker. I don't think that's like how I want to build my comedy career too. Is like I never liked it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
To me, it's
true, but it's not true.
Yeah.
Like there's never going to be a club person that works in a comedy club that's going to help you get on that track.
Sure.
No, like doesn't happen unless it's one of the big chains that they book like 5 different clubs.
And even then it's still consistency.
Yeah.
They want to see if like, is this just a one-off fiery set? Like you just, all right, you did good. Because I've also had those where like I feel like I crushed on a weekend and then I go hit an open mic with some new stuff and fucking humbled myself. Oh God,
same night within an hour of each other. Yeah.
And you're like, God, fucking
it's
damn it.
It's the biggest mind fuck. Yeah. The biggest mind fuck. Yep. I'll be honest with you, man. Like it's, I'm at a point in my life to where, I'm loving being a dad. I'm loving being a husband. I don't miss comedy.
Okay.
Like it's weird because it's like it was the passion of mine from 2012 until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And actually, no, up until about a year ago.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because I watched the episode with Lex and you said you had like you were done essentially.
I mean, I'm not done. If somebody asks me to come do a show, I'll go do it.
Yeah.
Like I haven't I've written stuff. I still write. But I've never worked on it.
Yeah.
Which was always kind of my thing anyway. Like I would go to open mic and work on something that I wrote as I'm driving to the club.
Yeah, the last minute stuff.
Yeah, but
which is what I do as well.
Yeah, like I'm it's just one of those things is like it was an ego thing. And I don't care about the ego anymore.
Sure.
Like I'm 44 years old. When I got sober, that was one of my main, well, for one, staying alive was a big reason. But I wanted to see and make sure that I was able to do comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And from anybody that was an alcoholic or an addict that got sober or clean told me you would be 10 times better if you got sober or clean. And I'm like, well, I need to do this. Let's do it. And they were right. Way better. Way better.
It's
like
way easier to remember stuff when you're not fucking
Way-
stammering on your words.
way easier to remember stuff, more relaxed, wondering if you missed your name. Not so much worrying about what the other comics thought.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be like something I used to worry about. And being like the best comic in a local scene is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It really is. Like it's like being the first turd to hit the toilet. Like it
Sure.
just doesn't make I don't know. Like I would go do it if I got asked. And
It's that meme of like you're fucking the dude down on the podium and he's like shaking the bottle and shit, and then there's like fucking 4 other podiums up and you're like in the last. He's like fucking
yeah, exactly.
you know.
Also, this is where you can kind of hit a point of knowing your voice.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be different levels of you, different versions of you. What are you 30 right now?
I'm 30. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's different versions of yourself through every achievement
Sure.
in your life, change in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a version of myself right now where like the gratification I need for myself doesn't need to be earned anymore.
Sure.
You know what I
Or at
mean?
least from strangers.
At least
right?
from strangers.
Like, I think I'm in a similar spot too, and I think hosting a lot has allowed me to be as present as I want to be for shows, but it also, doing it so often, I realized that there is a silliness that I can have on stage, and this I saw with some of the touring comics, is that most comedians are, at least the ones touring, are just exaggerated versions of themselves on stage.
Yeah.
And I think growing up watching Jim Carrey, almost all of his bloopers, it's him, right?
Yeah.
Like he is who he is on camera, but also speaks to how deeply depressed he was because he had nowhere else to put it.
Dude.
And so like I think it's really cool seeing both sides of him like that. And I'll just use him as a case study. That I don't have to do that for my kids. I can be not doctored is kind of the wrong word, but like a diluted version of funny for my kids, and they're going to be just fine. I don't have to act out crazy. Here's a bit to my kids.
You don't have to Woody Woodpecker around the room.
Exactly, and that's going to help them slow down as well, because sometimes when I wake up, like I can't turn it off.
Oh yeah.
And it's just fucking, I'm here, I'm there, I'm this, I'm that.
Do you wake up on 10?
Yeah, there are mornings I'll wake up on 11, but then there's also mornings, and like, that's the thing I'm trying to work towards, is just being a consistent 6.
Yeah. It's
Right?
hard.
And that's and like just being and like showing up for my family, because one thing my wife and I already have that steps in between our marriage is the military.
Yeah.
And that takes me, like, that's what pays the bills, no shit. And like, I can't say no if I want to stick around the organization.
Right.
I can deny orders, but I'm not going to be re-enlisting after that because it's peacetime, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they need bodies. They have plenty of people to.
And there's going to be
Take my
more
spot.
coming in, Like,
Exactly.
same thing with like stand up. Like, There's
Exactly.
always going to be somebody younger,
There's
better,
always
faster,
another host.
stronger.
There's always another middle act. There's always another fucking headliner. So learning that lesson, like my wife she fucking grounds the shit out of me, but there will be times where like I'm going, July, I'll have, 7 shows, right? There go 3 of my weekends of the 4-week month.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if I also have military obligations. Well, I'm not seeing my family jack squat that month. And so she was like, you need to really start hunkering down and like being there for us, because you're being there for everybody except yourself and us. And that's the shit that matters. And so shout out to my wife.
Sounds like a smart lady.
She is. And she's fucking awesome. And, you know, with that, obviously my ego gets into, in the way of it. Well, I'm the one that's going to host the Hooligans open mic.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, it was my baby. I helped stand it up, and Hooligans had done comedy. Like, they'd have John Reap and other comics come out. But I wanted to make the strong push to like help create the very, like the comedy environment for Hooligans. Like, hey, this is going to be a rough and rowdy show, but it doesn't, just because it's rough and rowdy doesn't mean all the comics have to be racist.
I bet it's rowdy as fuck.
It is. And
it's a rowdy place. And it's always been.
And I think it's because it's right outside of base. So like very little crowds. I should say the crowds weren't as offended at jokes. I would put it up front. Hey, this is Hooligans, but don't take what the comics are working on as like the brand Hooligans. The venue is saying these things, because they did get messages like that. Like, hey, we didn't agree with what the host was saying. And it's like, yeah, man, we're all just having fun. That's what we're doing.
It's a comedy show. Right? Get over it.
If you didn't like it, tell me what part you didn't like, and let's see if you, one, didn't get the joke, or I told it incorrectly, because 90% of the time, it's going to be me.
Jayville is one of those places, though, that a lot of people don't leave Jayville.
Yeah.
Or they're on the
base
go
to Wilmington
all the time.
Right? Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So last 3 questions here, because
Sure.
I know you've got a show, and I appreciate you coming before this show.
It's all love.
So what do you do? Here, I'll just skip the first one because you pretty much already answered it. You work out, you're there for the kids. Comedy is probably a great stress reliever for having any sort of like bad feelings when it comes to wanting to drink, whatever. What characteristic do you have from back in your drinking days to where it pops up? You're like, whoa, all right, there's that Nick. I need to dial that back.
Anger.
Yeah.
Anger. I grew up a very angry kid, and didn't have therapy to help me hone it in. But every once in a while, like, dude, wife, kids, something will just trigger it, and I'll get like a very deep, like pitted anger. Yeah. That like boiling anger from my stomach. And so one way, thankfully, I really took to jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, kickboxing, whatever.
You're a goddamn ninja.
Yeah, I try to be.
Yeah, that's badass.
I like that a lot. So it allows me to get out a lot of my frustration. And my wife knows, like, if I haven't done any of my like Muay Thai workouts, because I mean, I'm fucking ripping to this bag, you know.
Right.
If I haven't, like, I'm gonna be on edge. It's kind of become my new addiction.
Yeah.
Both of those martial arts, and I like them because they remind me a lot of comedy. Like, starting those, I've been able to kind of piecemeal how things work a little bit more.
Right.
It's helped with my learning process, and kind of the efficient ways to learn something new. Because jiu-jitsu, it's one of those things where you can get a 120-pound dude, and if he's a brown belt, high purple belt, maybe an experienced purple belt, if he knows what he's doing, like, he's gonna fucking ragdoll you no matter what weight you are, right? And same with Muay Thai. You can have a 110, maybe 115 pound person really just fucking bust you up, and make you think a 5-minute round is an eternity. Like, when will this fucking bell just ring so we can stop hitting each other? And by hitting each other, I mean so my face can stop hitting his fists.
Right.
You know? But a lot of that anger I get to get out through practicing and a lot of my bag work on my Muay Thai training.
Mm-hmm. That kind of even keels you.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good to have something like that.
It's like a cold plunge, but anger.
Yeah. See, mine is like the video games right now. Like that's just kind of my thing of like, I can just come into my office here because I'm in here like 40 hours a week.
Sure.
If not more than that.
Yeah.
Because Thursday nights do streams.
Instagram says you can do a lot of passive income by just flipping houses from afar.
Yo, I have been thinking about doing them.
Every time I see it, I save it.
Scams.
I save it.
The Etsy scams where I'm like, I'm going to sell this t-shirt, but then give it to this company to make, and I just put the link up.
Yeah.
It's so awesome, but
Guys
stupid.
Are showing those bullshit fucking... I made $20,000 this week. What are you doing, you lazy fuck? And you're like, oh, I am feeling kind of lazy right now.
Yeah, no, those guys, and they always
Fuck
look
those
like
guys.
shit. Like, you can tell that like those are new clothes that they just put on, will never wear again.
They make the video, but they never actually say how they're doing it. It's like, no, bitch, give me the
click this link, $29.99. So, what are you? If you got to think through everything, like back when you were drinking, life, because life like dreams that we have at night, it lasts about 1 second, and you've had like a whole month happen.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of think of your life the same way. You can flash through your life in a second. Out of all the person you are right now, what are you the most proud of?
Ooh. I would say discipline, just because it's what I've come to realize it's like the strongest form of self-love.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. Like doing something, saying you're going to do it is kind of the manifestation of it, right? Speaking it out, but then doing what you said you were going to do. Following through. And for a very long time, I didn't do that for my wife. I didn't do that for my kids. It was always, we'll do it tomorrow, or we just didn't get to it today, so we'll do it, and pushing things off. But I think starting with your self-discipline, and like, it doesn't have to be, well, I'm going to go do a fucking marathon tomorrow, right? It can literally be, I just want to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow so I can have an hour to myself before the kids get up. Or actually, more realistically, I'm going to wake up at 5 before they're up at 6. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to say, you lucky motherfucker.
Yeah. Ours have been sleeping in a little bit later, but yeah, and it's just, I've found, being disciplined is the strongest form of self-love.
It makes you a better person.
Dude, and just getting those little wins throughout the day is the best. And like, I do a lot of backwards planning. So like, if I have whatever I think is the priority ticket item for that day, what does my day look like before that, and kind of back plan from that. So if I have kids jiu-jitsu class I got to teach at fucking 4:45, what am I doing before then to kind of help boost those little wins and get shit done? Because we are still packing and stuff like that.
Oh, I bet.
So it's like, what laundry can I do? Can I start prepping dinner now at like 8 o'clock in the morning? So this way all I have to do is throw it in the fucking air fryer later, or shit like that. So
air fryers are so dope.
And I think properly planning and looking at your day, like, where can I maximize some of my where can I maximize my growth? Doesn't have to be every day. That can be a little exhausting.
Yeah.
But can I squeeze a workout in from 12 to 12:30? I'll just do push-ups, sit-ups, this, right? And like sticking to that, because I also do, like, I travel a lot because of my job. And I like weightlifting and Olympic weightlifting. Sometimes I don't always have those materials. So like making sure when I get to a hotel room, all right, it's a body weight workout today. Like, I have to do it. Fuck the gym. And just getting into your own, like, what do you like? What makes you kind of feel complete? And and then just showing up for yourself. And then you'll show up for others.
It sounds like that you have kind of mastered the getting over the I'm not gonna or I don't wanna.
Oh,
which is a huge addict, alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like you pushed through that to make yourself stay. We have kids, so you can't really say routined.
Yeah.
Because I love routines. I live by routines.
And they just take a sledgehammer to
They just take a sled, and on purpose. They laugh and they dance on the crumbs.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that you've kind of mastered that hump of completing something and not wanting to do it. Because I'm sure you wake up sometimes, you're like, I don't want to go for this run, or I don't want to go lift these weights, or I don't,
show up to a class where I'm just getting choked out for 2 hours.
Yeah, like I don't feel like going to do that. But you kind of have mastered that. It's not even a hump for you anymore. Like, you just push it out of the way.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
I think it's just pushing past that, because there are definitely days where I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this.
Right.
There are days where I don't, right? Like, and I see that as a like disciplinary relapse, right? Where I'm letting my brain get the win or get the loss. Right. Where they're like, I'm by no means perfect. There are days where I'm like, fuck that, fuck this, and I'm not doing any of it. And so I'll recoil and go into a depressive state, and that starts what I've learned as my like cyclone of bad decisions, because then it's like, all right, well, now I'm starting to eat ice cream. I start taking the comfort-based decisions as opposed to the disciplinary ones. So mastered it, I wouldn't say just yet, but I'm definitely making like more strides towards being more disciplined throughout my life. That's
an amazing answer to that question of what are you most proud of. That's
Thanks,
an amazing answer. I learned something new in each one of these episodes. It's kind of helps me too. And it's always seems like whatever I'm hearing that helps me is what I need to hear at that time.
Yeah.
And just today I was like, man, I'm putting too much shit off. Like, I'm putting too much off. Like, how do I get then? That was just motivation through it, man. Dude, we just made my day. I appreciate it.
You made my day.
You're amazing. Hey, best of luck to you.
Thanks, buddy.
Like this all my life, I didn't want to feel this emptiness. All my life, I never thought it'd be like this. All my years, I've come face to face with my fears, with my fears, with my fears. I've come face to face with my fears. Face to face with my fears. Monsters are lit, but they are bound. Monsters are lit, but they are bound. Monsters are lit,